In the heart of a cold, unyielding night, where shadows swallowed hope and cruelty reigned, a tiny, trembling pup was abandoned on a rain-slicked sidewalk, discarded like worthless refuse. The streets whispered secrets of neglect, and an unsettling question echoed relentlessly: can a heart shattered by betrayal ever rediscover trust? A slender, scruffy puppy named Lila emerged into a world that cared little for the living. Her fur was matted with grime, and her once bright eyes shone with a quiet sorrow. In the darkened back streets of an indifferent city, Lila had been left to fend for herself after being unceremoniously thrown away by those who once called her their companion. She wandered through littered alleys beneath flickering streetlights, each step heavy with despair yet underlined by a resilient spark that refused to extinguish. Each clatter of the rain against cold pavement told a story of abandonment, and every gust of wind seemed to echo the dismissive tone of those who had discarded her. The urban sprawl became an endless maze of danger and loneliness. Yet, within this chaos, Lila's small heart pulsed with the possibility of redemption, a silent rebellion against the cruelty of human indifference. Her first refuge came in the form of a narrow, forgotten alleyway bordered by crumbling brick walls festooned with graffiti. Here, amidst broken glass and discarded remnants of a forgotten life, Lila curled up beneath a rusted dumpster. The area, though harsh and uninviting, became her temporary sanctuary. The rustle of stray cats and the distant hum of traffic created a backdrop to a silent dialogue between survival and sorrow. In these moments of isolation, every drip of water from a leaking pipe and each distant echo became the metronome of her fragile existence. The city's pulse was both relentless and unpredictable. One stormy evening, while shivering in that bleak alley, Lila's ears perked at the sound of soft, tentative footsteps. A solitary woman, whose eyes bore the weight of untold stories, paused at the entrance to the alley. Something in the woman's gaze suggested a history of her own, a story of loss, resilience, and reluctant hope. Without a word, the woman knelt, extending her hand with a mixture of kindness and hesitance. Lila's instinct screamed caution, yet her heart, bruised but unyielding, dared to flutter with a tentative trust. The moment was piercingly delicate, a collision of vulnerability and hope. Lila remembered every instance of betrayal, every moment of neglect, yet now the warmth of the stranger's hand spoke of a future where compassion might mend the broken pieces of her soul. That fleeting encounter, painted in the gray hues of urban desolation, marked the beginning of Lila's slow and uncertain pilgrimage toward reclaiming her lost faith. In the days that followed, the woman visited the alley each evening, her presence a quiet promise amidst the urban decay. At first, Lila recoiled, her instinct driving her into a shell of mistrust. The echoes of harsh words, bitter rejections, and the sting of isolation were not so easily forgotten. However, the woman's persistence was a gentle reminder that not every human heart was calloused by cruelty. The woman began leaving small morsels of food at the entrance of the alley, bits of warm bread, a saucer of water, tokens of care in a world seemingly devoid of it. When Lila finally took the precarious step toward accepting this kindness, it was as if the entire city paused in wonder. In that single, fragile act, the barriers built up by years of abuse began to crumble. She lapped up the water with cautious enthusiasm, every sip a defiant act against her past of abandonment. In the dim light, the woman's eyes glimmered with unspoken understanding. There was no grand rescue in that moment, only the transformative power of consistent kindness and the patient caress of a stranger's compassion. Over the course of several weeks, the alley, once a stage for despair, began to transform subtly through their shared moments of trust. A faint smile might break across Lila's face as the gentle hands of the woman brushed through her tangled fur, softening it into something resembling hope. The woman never spoke, yet her actions resonated with a deep empathy that conveyed more than words ever could. In these quiet exchanges, the city's harsh clamor receded into the background, leaving in its wake a raw, unfiltered connection that defied the darkness. One cool, drizzly afternoon, as the woman approached the alley with a look of tentative determination, Lila sensed that her life was about to shift in ways she had never imagined. The woman's eyes betrayed both pain and a quiet resolve as she extended an invitation without uttering a single word, an invitation to step out from the shadows into a life bathed in the fragile glow of possibility. Guided by instinct and nurtured by newfound hope, Lila allowed herself to be led away from the familiar confines of the alley. Her journey carried her past rows of weathered storefronts and abandoned lots that whispered of a history marred by neglect and hardship. Each step was a tentative dance between uncertainty and the promise of warmth, a silent metaphor for the battle between a broken past and a possible future filled with unanticipated tenderness. The next stage of Lila's life unfolded in a modest, sunlit neighborhood where houses stood in orderly rows and children's laughter echoed softly across manicured lawns. The woman, whose name was revealed in passing as Marian, had found a small apartment above a bustling bakery, a haven of simplicity and gentle routines. Here, in this quieter locale, the cadence of life was measured yet vibrant. Marian introduced Lila to a world where every corner held the promise of renewal. The snug living room that smelled of freshly brewed tea, the narrow kitchen where aromas of warm soup floated invitingly, and the quiet street where dusk melted into a blanket of soft twilight. Within these walls, Lila began to understand that trust was not an abstract concept but something alive, pulsing with every shared glance and every silent reassurance. Marian's care was a delicate dance of empathy and routine. Each morning, as sunlight filtered through gauzy curtains, Marian would gently rouse Lila, offering soft words and gentle caresses that spoke of commitment and the healing power of consistent affection. In the subtle interplay of these daily moments, Lila's fears slowly receded, replaced by a dawning understanding that not all people were capable of cruelty. Her small world, once marred by a barren landscape of betrayal, was gradually being repainted with the soft hues of acceptance and hope. Yet life in this new world was not without its moments of tension. Just as calm could descend like a protective shroud, unexpected undercurrents stirred beneath the surface. On one particularly quiet evening, as Marian and Lila strolled along the edge of a park, a sudden chill rippled through the air. The park, usually a sanctuary of gentle whispers and rustling leaves, became the stage for an unsettling encounter. A stray dog, eyes wild with distrust and body tense with barely contained anxiety, blocked their path. In that charged moment, the veneer of calm shattered, revealing the raw edges of a world where cruelty and uncertainty could still erupt without warning. The stray's growl was not a declaration of aggression but rather a desperate, primal cry, a manifestation of pain and mistrust reflected in the creature's own wounded soul. Marian halted, her expression a mix of compassion and caution. Lila, sensing the intensity of the moment, instinctively crouched low, her body trembling not just from fear but from the weight of all the rejection she had once endured. In the space of seconds, the park transformed from a familiar haven into an arena of primal instincts and unspoken histories. Yet, as the stray dog eventually trotted away, the silence that followed was as profound as it was unsettling, a stark reminder that even in environments of newfound hope, vestiges of a harsh past could resurface without warning. In the ensuing hours, as Marian comforted Lila with gentle murmurs and reassuring touches, the small apartment became a sanctuary from the unpredictable pulse of the city. Marian's steadfast presence was like an anchor amid turbulent seas. Each shared moment, whether it was the soft brushing of fur or the quiet hum of a lullaby in the dim glow of the evening lamp, contributed to a slow but unstoppable transformation within Lila. The scars of abandonment, once raw and exposed, began to fade into a mosaic of tentative memories and budding trust. With every sunrise, Lila's resilience grew, each day stitching together fragmented trust into a tapestry of hope. The narrative of her past, of being discarded and overlooked, served as a poignant reminder of the fragility of trust, but also of its incredible capacity to heal. The city outside still bore its harsh, unyielding edges, yet within the tender confines of Marian's care, a gentle revolution of hope was underway. Lila's transformation was not instantaneous but rather a slow metamorphosis etched into the minutiae of everyday life. As she began to wag her tail with increasing fervor during morning walks and nuzzled against Marian's hand with unspoken gratitude, every moment bore the weight of silent redemption. The once dim spark within her eyes began to glow, a testament to the indomitable spirit that could rise even from the most desolate of beginnings. Even as the city's cacophonous rhythm continued unabated, the delicate interplay between darkness and light in Lila's journey spoke volumes. There was an undercurrent of tension and discomfort, a subtle reminder that even in spaces of newfound warmth, echoes of the past might intrude. Yet, in the persistent, gentle cadence of human kindness, there lay an unyielding promise that even a heart discarded like Refuse could learn, against all odds, to believe in people once again. The story of Lila, small, vulnerable, and scarred by neglect, was in many ways a mirror to the complexities of life itself. It was a journey defined not by grand heroic rescues but by the quiet, daily acts of compassion that slowly healed her battered soul. As twilight deepened outside Marian's window and Lila lay curled at her feet, the whispers of the city mingled with the soft murmur of hope, a hope that dared to defy the cold certainty of abandonment and the painful lessons of a world that had once been all too unkind. The days turned into weeks as the subtle metamorphosis of trust continued to weave its magic around Lila's fragile heart. In the soft, golden light of a late autumn afternoon, when the world seemed to pause in quiet reflection, Lila found herself venturing further from the cocoon of familiarity. Marian had arranged for a visit to a nearby community garden, a modest haven nestled behind rows of weathered townhouses where residents cultivated not only nature, but a sense of connection and renewal. The garden, with its humble array of vibrant marigolds and tender green sprouts pushing through cracked soil, became the stage for yet another quiet confrontation with the past and a tentative dance toward the future. As Lila stepped through the low, creaking gate, her nose twitched at the mingling sense of damp earth and fresh blossoms. There was an undeniable magic in the air, a fragile promise that life, despite its bruises and scars, could blossom anew. Marian's gentle hand on Lila's fur was the silent guide that urged her forward, her every step a small rebellion against the darkness that had once defined her world. Here, every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind among the budding flowers, echoed the simple truth that beauty and kindness could be found even in the aftermath of despair. In the midst of the garden, a small gathering of local residents shared quiet smiles and murmured greetings. Their faces, though etched with the wear of daily struggles, radiated an unspoken warmth. One elderly man, his eyes brimming with decades of stories, knelt beside Lila with a tender smile, offering a gentle pat that bridged generations of unspoken understanding. In that instantaneous moment, as human kindness met a creature who had known so little of it, the garden shimmered with the possibility of healing. Lila, in her cautious yet undeniable willingness to embrace love, felt a part of something larger, an intricate tapestry woven from the threads of shared empathy and quiet defiance. Yet, as comforting as these moments were, they came not without their echoes of discomfort. The same city that offered these pockets of solace remained a realm of unpredictable shadows. Late one evening, as dark clouds swallowed the twilight and the garden's gentle vibrancy gave way to a shroud of uncertainty, Lila's ears picked up the dissonant echoes of a distant commotion. From the far end of the garden, where the neat rows of vegetables met a tangle of wild overgrowth, a sharp, discordant cry fractured the silence. It was a sound not of malice, but of pent-up, unaddressed pain, stirring memories that lurked behind even the gentlest gestures. Marian's face fell into a thoughtful frown as she hurried toward the source of the noise, Lila trotting at her side with a mix of reluctance and concern. What seemed like an ordinary clash of nature and circumstance, the rustling of branches, a stray animal's call, revealed the precarious balance that defined Lila's new world. The garden, a sanctuary amid the chaos of urban life, held within its borders the raw, unrefined realities of survival. In that fleeting but intense moment, Lila's brave heart thumped in synchronous alarm with Marian's determined gaze, both of them instinctively aware that even havens required vigilance. After the brief disruption, as calm reasserted itself and the unsettling echoes faded away, Marian knelt to meet Lila's questioning eyes. It was a silent conversation, as profound as it was unsaid, a moment that acknowledged life's intrinsic unpredictability while affirming their shared commitment to trust and kindness. Lila, with her eyes glistening under the soft glow of a battered street lamp, realized that every step forward was a measured risk. Yet she also recognized that without that risk lay a life forever imprisoned in shadows. Thus, with a heart emboldened by the gentle certainty of Marian's presence, she embraced the unpredictable nature of her newfound existence. In the ensuing days, the community garden became more than just a location, it evolved into a living metaphor for Lila's own journey. The people who visited brought with them not only seeds and soil, but heartfelt stories of redemption and quiet resilience. A young gardener shared memories of her own struggles, her voice trembling with a mixture of hope and sorrow as she recounted how nurturing fragile seedlings had taught her that even the smallest acts of care could lead to growth. Another resident, a retired teacher with soft, understanding eyes, spoke of the garden as a place where even those who felt discarded could rediscover their worth among the blooms of second chances. The garden, with its contrasting elements of untamed nature and painstaking care, encapsulated the duality of Lila's experience. Here, the tranquility of shared optimism clashed with the lingering shadows of past hurts. The moments of raw vulnerability, an unexpected drizzle that blurred the vibrant hues of the blossoms, the tremor in a trembling paw as it reached out toward a hesitant hand, spoke to the heart's perpetual struggle between fear and the courage to trust. Each inhaled breath in that quiet patch of earth was a silent declaration of hope, the understanding that even the most battered soul could flourish if given the chance. On one crisp evening, as the garden basked in the soft afterglow of a setting sun that painted the sky in hues of amber and rose, Marian sat by a weathered wooden bench with Lila nestled close by. The breeze, cool and invigorating, carried with it echoes of distant laughter and soft murmurings from nearby homes. For a fleeting moment, time seemed to suspend itself, leaving behind only the quiet communion of shared solitude and the promise of new beginnings. Marian's hands, roughened by years of labor yet imbued with gentle empathy, cradled Lila in a silent, protective embrace. The young pup, once lost in a sea of neglect, now exuded a fragile confidence, her eyes reflecting the myriad hues of a life rediscovered. But even as peace settled over the scene, an undercurrent of unresolved tension lingered. Lila's past was not so easily erased. The echoes of abandonment and neglect were etched into the very fabric of her being. On certain nights, when the world outside was swallowed by the relentless dark, shadows would creep into her thoughts. She remembered the cold, indifferent alleys, the harsh sounds of a city that had once discarded her without a backward glance. These memories, though softened by time and care, sometimes rose unbidden, casting long, spectral fingers over the present. Marian, attuned to the quiet battles playing out behind Lila's eyes, often sat with her in silence during these moments, her presence a steadfast reminder that the past, no matter how dark, need not dictate the future. In the gentle cadence of their shared silences, there was a promise, a vow that every scar, every memory of abandonment, was a stepping stone toward a deeper, more resilient love. Marian believed that healing was neither linear nor instantaneous, but a continuous journey that was as much about acceptance as it was about transformation. And in this belief, she found the strength to meet every echo of Lila's inner torment with unwavering compassion. As the seasons turned once more, winter's chill crept upon the city, transforming the vibrant garden into a landscape of muted grays and stark, brittle branches. The cold carried with it an air of stillness, a natural pause in the frenetic rhythm of everyday life. Yet, even amidst the frost, traces of warmth endured. In the soft, muted light of early mornings, Marian and Lila would take slow, deliberate walks along deserted streets dusted with a whisper of snow. Each step was a quiet defiance against the biting cold, a testament to the resilience of a soul that had known the depths of despair and chosen, nonetheless, to trust in the promise of a new dawn. On one such morning, as delicate flakes fell steadily around them, Lila's ears twitched at a distant melody, the soft, lilting strains of a piano from within a nearby community center. Drawn by the sound of music, Lila tugged gently on Marian's hand, her eyes alight with a curiosity that had long been dormant. They followed the enchanting notes to a modest hall where a small group of locals gathered, united by a shared love of art and the solace it brought. In that gentle convergence of souls, the air was filled with the unspoken understanding that creativity and compassion were inextricably linked. The music swirled around Lila like a protective embrace, each note a reminder that even the most broken hearts could find beauty amidst the chaos. It was in these moments, the soft interplay of light and shadow, the delicate balance of hope and lingering doubt, that Lila's transformation truly came into focus. The once timid pup now trotted with a measured confidence, her steps a quiet declaration of survival and rebirth. She had come to embody the paradox of existence, the ability to remember the darkest parts of life while still daring to embrace the brilliance of new beginnings. In the warmth of Marian's unwavering support and the collective compassion of a community that had long forgotten the true meaning of care, Lila discovered an inner strength that defied her former isolation. Even as the final vestiges of winter gave way to the tentative stirrings of spring, the city itself seemed to breathe anew. The harsh edges of urban reality softened under the gentle kiss of seasonal renewal, and life reasserted itself in the subtlest of ways. In the burgeoning light of a crisp morning, as droplets of dew adorned the awakening blooms, Marian and Lila shared a quiet moment on their favorite park bench. It was a moment suspended in time, a silent celebration of every trial overcome, every tender step toward redemption. The world around them was alive with the promise of change, and for Lila, every heartbeat echoed with gratitude for the second chance she had been given. In that serene interlude, as the sun's rays wove golden threads through the cool morning air, the tumult of Lila's past was gently transformed into a symphony of hope and resilience. Her eyes, once heavy with sorrow and cautious distrust, now shone with the vibrant light of a spirit that had learned to thrive despite the odds. Marian's quiet smiles and reassuring touches were the anchors that grounded her in the present, a living reminder that true healing was not marked by the absence of pain, but by the courage to rise above it. And so, as the city moved forward in its ceaseless rhythm, Lila's journey stood as a testament to the quiet power of empathy, a living narrative of transformation that resonated with every soul willing to listen. In the echoes of everyday kindness, amidst the gentle clash of hardship and healing, her story unfolded like a delicate, resilient bloom pushed upward through the frozen ground. It was a story that defied the callousness of those who had once discarded her, a narrative where every shared smile, every soft caress, and every tremulous step toward trust became a declaration that the capacity to love and be loved was the most profound force of all. In the final, unspoken moments of dusk, as the gentle hues of twilight mingled with the lingering echoes of the day's endeavors, Lila lay curled near Marian's feet, content yet watchful, her heart emboldened by the knowledge that, no matter how turbulent the world might be, there would always remain a sanctuary in the tender, unexpected acts of genuine care. And in that sanctuary, amid the interplay of fading light and budding hope, the story of a once-forgotten puppy affirmed a timeless truth: even when discarded and treated like refuse, a heart capable of hope will always find its way back to the light, learning, against all odds, to believe in the beauty of humanity once again.